Is the market finally taking a turn now? As you guys can see, SPY is looking like it wants to curl. Will it do it? I'm gonna dive into it right now in a second. But welcome to Only Subs. None of this is financial advice. If you want to join the Discord, the link should be in the bio. But let me just get right into it with SPY here. Like as you can see right now, SPY has just been in this uptrend. And we finally are seeing a bit of a correction, right? Yes, pullback. Everybody was looking for that pullback. Now the question is, how far are we going to break down now? So the question is, will SPY fill this gap? That's number one, which is down at 541.09 or so. I'll pull up my levels here so you guys can see exactly what I am looking at. But as of right now, SPY is holding this 0.5 fib. Next clear level will be this 541.50-ish area, which is lining up with this 9 EMA and this golden pocket here. I could see that as a very key area to test come Monday or so if there is going to be more pullback. And there's this dark pool level here at 542.70, so this will be acting as a key area of support as well. There was about 3 or 4, maybe like $5 billion worth of dark pool prints at 545, and there was one right here just at 544.20, so it's in that range right now. If it loses this area, this 541.30 level here, it will come down and test 543s, and then ultimately need to, bulls will need to hold this, otherwise coming down lower here. So that's coming maybe this week, this Monday or Tuesday. We'll have to see. Otherwise, upside targets, if this gap, assessing this gap here, basically tests this CE, the center of the gap, and a lot of times this center, the middle of the gap, tends to act as key support. If it does that, if this fib holds, this 0.5 fib, you could see a bounce back up, testing these upper levels as high as 545. This area 545 will be very key to get over, and then we could potentially see some upper levels here. I'll pull up the hourly here. So there's a bit of a gap up there, so we got to clear 545, and then maybe you could go for that gap fill, which is the next dark pool level as well at 546.86. If you're going to be trading this come Monday, as I mentioned, this support needs to break. This 544 area needs to break. Ultimately, this fib down here, and then you can look out for your lower levels. It does look like there's been a bit of selling going on, so just be mindful of how you trade it. Otherwise, your upside targets are there, as I mentioned. Like SPY actually broke down from this trend that it's been following, and from here, and then tested it here, and now it finally got the breakdown. So it's very key if bulls want to continue the trend, to reclaim the trend here. Otherwise, bears are going to just continue pushing this down, and then we might even come as low as this 536 level, where this next gap is as low as 536 to 535. So look out for that on SPY. Let me pull up Q here, and Q again, just very similar with SPY, just selling going on. And this again, another key area here. I'll go zoom in a bit more. Right over here at 547, if Q loses this 480 level, 477 level is going to come test next, and this, you can see right here, is a golden pocket level here, another dark pool area here. Again, this clearing 480 to 479, there's a lot of support over here. Break this, it's going to come down to this 477 level here. So again, if you're shorting, those are your levels to look out for. Otherwise, upside targets, you really, the 9 EMA flipped to the bear side now, so unless this is reclaimed, you're not looking too good. Even on the daily looks, again, just still bullish here, just from a macro perspective. Bulls will need to catch a bounce soon, especially around this 477 area, if there is to be more pullback coming Monday, Tuesday. Keep in mind there is PCE this Friday, so that's probably the big event. And then I think Wednesday, I believe, is the the initial jobless claims or something like that. So those are two key data points. There's some Fed speakers coming out this week, so just be mindful of those. VIX is actually, been in this support area for the longest time. So there's been, when you see VIX in this area, a key area of support, you might expect it bounce soon. Everybody was looking for this bounce, but it never came, right? So the thing with, I've been seeing some activity on the flow, and I've seen some calls that are being bought on VIX for like July or August, and there might be anticipation of a bounce coming soon. So unless VIX, and you can see SPY and Q as well, they're both at these all-time high levels. If there is to be a pullback, it would make sense for VIX to catch a bounce around these lows, right? So just keep in mind how you're gonna watch these. Just make sure you're watching VIX as well as SPY and Q, so that you have a better confluence idea of where to look for a potential reversal, which if bears are capitalizing at this point, then we could get that pullback. Just looking at VIX right now, pull up some levels for you guys so you guys can see right over here. So VIX, this 1280 level will be key area of support. So if VIX pulls down here, it will, it obviously could send the market a little bit higher, and it breaks that, definitely going to look good for bulls on the overarching market. If you look at VIX on a bit of a macro perspective here, there is a downtrend. It's clear downtrend, and it tested this trend line. So if VIX breaks out of this trend line, guys, I'm telling you right now, the market could break down. This is going to be very key, this 1360 level right here, and that could launch VIX. Like, previously VIX has been in, some sort of downtrend, and like right from here to here, I'll show you really quickly. From here to here, you could have drawn this trend right here, right? Once VIX, look at right here. So this was the trend from here, test here, and then broke out, retest, and had this huge pop, and this was during April, where you can see SPY here in that period of April had this pullback. Okay, so again, VIX is setting up for a very similar setup here, right, with this downtrend. Break out of that, you could see, again, history's not necessarily repeat, but it does rhyme. So next one here is NVDA. So if you're trading NVDA, again, right, this one just looks pretty bearish here. The 9 EMA flipped, support resistance flip on 9, and just testing this daily gap here. So this daily gap here at 123 level will need to ultimately hold, like bulls will need to hold this level and then catch a bounce. Otherwise, it's already looking really bearish. You're getting some increased sell volume coming in. If we go on to the 4-hour here, yeah, everything is looking like it wants to dump. I think the next key area it could easily come test is this 120 level, and again, that's a very likely scenario for NVIDIA, especially after this huge run up here. Like, there's a lot of imbalances, so I wouldn't be surprised if 120 get tested on NVIDIA. So just watch out for that. It looks pretty bearish. Bulls will need to hold this daily gap this week, otherwise it's gonna most likely come down here. Lose that, and then you have your levels as low as 115 to 110. Apple had this massive end of day sell-off at the very end of day, and I was gonna take some YOLO puts on this earlier in the day. I was telling my Discord, like, oh, I think Apple can test 207, and it surprisingly did. That would have printed very nicely, but Apple basically is got this bit of a double top look here, and now it's pulling back here. So I think Apple, as far as let me just go back on the daily here. Yeah, so the thing with Apple here, it filled this gap. Because it filled this gap, yes, we are under the 9. That's a pretty bearish look right there. You got 3 black crows setting up on Apple here, which is another bearish confluence. but this gap ultimately will need to hold. It just filled the gap on that big massive dip as I just showed you guys for that 207 level. So now bulls, I think we might see a bit of a bounce here, and if we do bounce, we're gonna obviously come back and maybe test this 209 level here. So if that happens, I think we could pull back a little bit further down to this 200, 202, 201 level. But obviously bears will need to break these levels here. It does look pretty bearish, but because it filled the gap, that's my only bullish thing that I can see that it could bounce. But how strong will the reversal be? Will it actually catch the bounce and then pop back up? If it does that, then you could be setting up a bit of a cup-like structure here, right? And then maybe send to new all-time highs in the coming weeks. So just watch out for Apple, watch for those levels, and I think maybe it come down to low 200s. Amazon looks really great here. So Amazon, I was calling this in my Discord as well. It clears 188, could teleport to 190, which it almost got. It actually hit as high as 189.28. So again, this one also did that at the very end of day. So I think market makers were pinning the market the entire day on Friday until the very last minute. It was quad witching. It was OPEX. So key day, very volatile. It wasn't very volatile, but it was interesting. Market makers were pinning the price action until the very end. So Amazon looks very, very bullish. Again, just a very clean cup and handle look here. It's getting this breakout off of this ascending triangle type of pattern. You're having a lot of bullish confluence on Amazon here. If it can clear this 190, 200s, I think if it clears all-time highs, 200s is definitely in the cards for Apple. Like right here, 199.21. But obviously, we'll have to see how it works. Volume is looking very nice here. A bit of accumulation been going on until Friday with this massive push up at the very end. So it looks really good on Amazon. Those are your levels here. Clearing this 190.32 level will be the key number to get over this golden pocket here. Get over that, you could look at as high as 200 in the coming weeks for sure. Tesla is now in a pennant, and there was something very unusual on Tesla that came in, which was a 170 put order. So again, I think it could be a hedge, but right now, as of Tesla will need to get a break up or down in this pennant, and that could happen this week. And if it does, if it breaks to the upside, getting over this 186.32 golden pocket level will be very key. And then ultimately this 188. This 188 has been like a wall on Tesla. So if 188 gets broken, and again, this very key resistance area gets over that, it could come to test this upper levels, these 191 levels here. This is a very long-term trend line here that it's been following, tested a few times, broke down, tested. So if it gets that break to the upside, you could easily see 191, 192, and ultimately bulls will need to see a break of that, and 200 is most likely in the cards as well for Tesla here. GME, I was saying to the guys in Discord with GME here, if it broke 124, which is again, it's just sitting there, you're looking at $20 to $17 price targets. Obviously, you have this support down here at 23. But if GME is breaking down, I really think that it could come down to these low 20s and ultimately as low as like 17. So if you're gonna play GME, and I know there's a lot of YOLOers out there, but just be mindful on these downside levels, because before the mega bounce, if that is to come, I think personally, just my opinion, I think it come down first lower before it even gets that pop to the upside. And then we got SOXL here. So SOXL, if you guys are in long with me, it needs to hold this here trend. It broke a bit of a shorter term time frame trend line, which I was tracking from here to here, and it broke here. So now it looks pretty bearish, I'll be honest with you, but the macro time frame is still holding up here. So if it cannot clear this trend line, if it breaks down below that, just from a macro perspective, it's gonna look pretty bearish. You could actually look to short SOXL from that point, and your targets as low as like $52, $53, $52, this golden pocket. So that's your downside target. Otherwise, need to catch a bounce here, clear the 60-40 level, and then ultimately you get this gap fill and then send to these upper levels up, as you can see here. Some of you guys are in WDAY. WDAY, just be careful with these types of setups here. The thing with WDAY, let me draw it out for you guys here. There's a trend that it's following, right? And it broke this trend. So because it broke this trend, now it looks pretty bearish. What best case scenario for bulls right now? Come and test this 240 level, 250, ultimately retesting this trend line that it broke down from. Yes, there is a bit of buying, but you had a key break of this trend here, so just be mindful. If it loses this 218, I would honestly cut a long position and look for a short down to this gap fill area again. But as of right now, it's curling. It is getting some bit of buying going on, going to shorter time frame here. Yeah, just be very careful with WDAY. I do think that it could reverse. It looks good for a reversal, but at the same time, you have to keep in mind the bearish structures. But otherwise, I think 240, 241, 242, very possible on this curl up, on this accumulation for volume. So yeah. CRM, again, very similarly to WDAY. The thing with CRM, however, is you see this trend that it's in following. Here's the thing with CRM. It is now testing the trend line. Look what it did over here. It tested it, got over, rejected it. The 9 EMA rejected it, and it pulled back. Now, it's over the 9 EMA. It is now testing this trend line again for actually like a 1, 2, 3, 4. Tried for 4 days to clear this, and it just couldn't do it. And now it's going for a 5th time. So CRM looks pretty good, and I think 260. You gotta clear this trend. If you can clear this trend, 260s is very likely. 250, of course, is the next level, and then 260 right after that. So that's what you're looking at for CRM. You don't want to see a rejection again, otherwise it's gonna look something like that again, and then you gotta exit your longs at that point. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, reach out to me in the Discord. If you want to join the Discord, link is in the bio.